Hello and welcome to the news at 10 on Nta News 24. We're live in Abuja. I am Dennis Adegunloye. The headlines. IMF advises Nigeria to utilize savings of fuel subsidy removal.
Some of the savings from the fuel subsidy reforms, of the exchange rate subsidy being removed, should, in our view, be directed to helping cushion the effect on the most vulnerable households.
National Assembly proposes technological monitoring system and rapid response teams to enhance self-school. Federal government launches construction of second phase of Sokoto-Badagry superhighway. Countries across sub-Saharan Africa are navigating challenging reforms to achieve macroeconomic stability. While the International Monetary Fund, IMF, backs these efforts, it advises policymakers to balance macroeconomic goals with ensuring that reforms such as those in Nigeria remain socially and politically sustainable. Muplang Dakok reports.
Attention at the World Bank and IMF annual meetings today is on the continent. For Nigeria, the IMF welcomes the recent reforms of fuel subsidy removal and the Naira unification. However, it emphasizes that Nigerian government should use savings from the fuel subsidy removal to support the most vulnerable.
The immediate effect, of course, of doing these changes always causes quite a lot of dislocation. You've noted the inflation, and and we have absolutely no doubt that conditions at the moment. I know there are some steps that are being taken in that direction, but I think really some of the savings from the fuel subsidy reforms, of the exchange rate subsidy being removed, should, in our view, be directed to helping cushion the effect on the most vulnerable households.
The IMF projects a growth of 3.6% for Africa in 2024, with a modification expected next year.
Economic growth in sub-Saharan Africa remains subdued, particularly in per capita terms. We're projecting growth this year of around 3.6%, the same as last year, with some signs that it is beginning to accelerate, and we're projecting that it will reach around 4.2% next year. This pace, needless to say, is not sufficient to reduce poverty or indeed to recover the lost ground in recent years. But as always, it's important to highlight the considerable differences in circumstances across the region. For example, 9 out of the 20 fastest growing economies are in sub-Saharan Africa, particularly those with more diversified structures, which are doing well.
The good thing is that Nigeria has not submitted any request to borrow from the IMF. From Washington, D.C., Muplang Dakok, Nta News.
President Bola Tinubu on Friday led a large number of dignitaries to the National Mosque for the Jummah prayer, which also featured the wedding Fatiha of the daughter of the former governor of Gombe State, Mohammed Danjuma Goje. State House correspondent Musbah Danwahab reports.
President Bola Tinubu, a special guest here, arrived into the hands of top politicians, including one of his opponents in the 2023 election, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. And this became a gathering of members of the political class, irrespective of their affiliations. Former and current presidents of the Senate, former and serving members of the National Assembly, former and sitting governors were present to honor one of them, Senator Mohammed Danjuma Goje, who handed one of his daughters out in marriage. Former Governor of Gombe State, Ibrahim Dankwambo, represented the bride's family in the multiple wedding fatiha. In the process, political divides were put aside as the current and past leaders charted a way with President Bola Tinubu as the rallying point. But then, in the translation of his sermon, Imam, National Mosque Mohammed Kabir Adam reminded those in leadership positions about the supremacy of Allah as the most powerful. He implored them on the virtue of humility and the need to lead their respective peoples with the fear of God. In Abuja, Musbah and Wahab, Nta News.
The National Assembly Joint Committee on Tertiary Education and TET Fund is seeking alternative solutions to the energy and security challenges in Nigerian universities, polytechnics and colleges of education. At a stakeholders' engagements, legislators and other participants proposed the implementation of a technology-enabled security and monitoring system and establishment of rapid response teams. They were also of the view that the adoption of alternative energy will reduce the running costs, as these institutions now expend more than 30% of their budgets on electricity alone.
Some institutions pay up to 250 billion, the entire size of their overhead for the year, to pay for electricity bill for just 1 month.
Without consistent power supply, we stifle the potentials for technological advancements. The implications are profound, affecting everything from basic instrumental method to the ability to conduct groundbreaking research that could contribute to our national development.
We are aware that in recent times, rival court groups have seized the opportunity of erratic power supply to turn our educational establishments into battlegrounds, while attacks on students by terrorist groups and bandits have been on the rise as a result of blackouts.
How do we really finance public education? Because 95% at least of the student population today in Nigeria are in public institutions.
The committee urged the development partners to increase investments in the sector. Now, the second phase of the Sokoto-Badagry Superhighway in Gulumbi, Kebbi State will be a game changer for Nigeria's agricultural sector when completed. The project, set to span 1,000 kilometers, promises to revolutionize socio-economic growth across multiple states. Abdul Jalil Mohammed Bawa reports.
The 258-kilometer three-lane single carriageway, Section 2, is a key component of the 1,068-kilometer Sokoto-Badagry Superhighway Phase 2. Minister of Works, Senator David Umahi, acknowledged the project's significance in boosting agriculture and socio-economic activities in Kebbi State and Nigeria as a whole.
This Sokoto-Badagry has 68 dams that will trigger off mega agricultural revolution within the corridor of this project. These dams is for irrigation. We're also going to have a lot of wind energy.
Mr. President and the Renewed Hope agenda he is leading have made it very clear that leadership is about vision, is about a greater vision for the future, not about today.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in a message delivered by Governor Nasir Idris, reaffirmed the current administration's commitment to constructing a comprehensive road network across the country, which aligns with the Renewed Hope agenda, focusing on road transformation.
We want to congratulate people of Kebbi State for taking lion's share of this project.
The Sokoto-Badagry Superhighway spans 7 states of Sokoto, Kebbi, Niger, Kwara, Oyo, Ogun, and Lagos states. In Birnin Kebbi, Abdul Jalil Mohammed Bawa, Nta News.
The Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation says it will continue to monitor and evaluate the regulation of water flow of dams across the nation to prevent future occurrences of flooding in society. Director, Dams and Reservoirs Operations, Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation, Ali Ibrahim Dala stated this at an evaluation visit to Kiri Dam in Sheleng local government area of Adamawa State. Simon Asher reports.
The effect of this year's flood disaster experienced in Adamawa State has affected 64,868 persons with 14,298 houses either partially or damaged and 36 deaths recorded in the state. The menace largely attributed to climate change as a result of activity of man in addition to overflows of dams, tributaries and rivers has exposed communities into untold hardship. Worried by these developments, the Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation visited Kiri Dam in Adamawa State to assess the dam, its capacity and water level, in line with federal government's resolve to avert the occurrence of flooding disaster experienced in Maiduguri, Borno State.
In addition to climate change, most of our dams in Nigeria have been there for a very long time. In fact, they are aged. Some have been there for more than 40 years. And even if it is a human being, staying beyond certain range, you begin to deteriorate in strength. So we believe this may be present with some of our dams that have been there for a very long time, and that is why we have to check for their health in order for us to correct defects associated with age and things like that.
The visit to the dam is to also ascertain the status of the dam, regulate the water flow so as to prevent flooding in the community. In Yola, Simon Asher, Nta News.
The Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority (NCAA) is urging airline passengers and other regulatory agencies involved in consumer-related issues within the sector to study and understand the NCAA's regulatory provisions on consumer protection to address issues of compensation for missing luggage, as well as cancellation or delaying of flights. Aliu Kabir reports.
Within the aviation industry in Nigeria, issues of delayed flights, missing luggage and the refunds for tickets on cancelled flights have been the major concern of airline passengers, especially when they are left wondering what their rights are. The Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority (NCAA) have been receiving complaints from the passengers in this regard, which the authority says most of the times passengers who forwarded such complaints do not understand the time frame within the NCAA regulatory framework and global aviation regulations. The Director, Public Relations and Consumer Protection of the NCAA, Michael Achumugu, says passengers must study Part 9 of the NCAA regulations to better be informed of their rights and responsibilities. Achumugu outlines that for delayed flights, passengers are entitled to a first needs of payment of 10,000 naira for domestic flights and $170 for international flights.
A lot of times the airline will not tell you are entitled to this compensation. But if you know your rights and you approach their desk and say, my luggage has not arrived, while I'm willing to wait for you to find my luggage, I'm entitled to first need, give me this amount, they will take action.
He further clarifies that airlines have up to 7 days to search for a delayed baggage on domestic flights and 21 days for international flights, with a liability limit for a local flight amounting to $1,000 if baggage is confirmed missing, and 1,288 special drawing rights (SDR) compensation for international passengers. For ticket refunds, the director explains that it must be paid immediately if payment was made in cash, or to be paid within the maximum of 4 weeks if paid by bank transfer. He further urged travelers to always remain informed and strictly adhere to the aviation safety standards and regulations for a safer and effective service delivery. In Abuja, Aliu Kabir, NTA News.
This is the news at 10 on Nta News24. More reports after this break. Stay with us.
My administration took over leadership of our country 16 months ago at a critical juncture. The economy faced many headwinds and our physical security highly impaired. We found ourselves at a decent crossroad where we must choose between two paths: reform for progress and prosperity, or carry on the business as usual and collapse. We decided to reform our political economy and defense architecture.
Welcome back. Now, providing technical support to defense forces, ensuring all that is needed to effectively and efficiently protect the nation's territorial integrity is supplied, is what the Nigerian Army Ordnance Corps is all about. And when these duties are religiously carried out, the feeling of satisfaction is palpable. And to this end, some retired Major Generals of the Corps want officers to remain committed to their oath of allegiance. Nta News24 reports.
The Nigerian Army has time and time again reiterated its commitment to the protection of the nation's territorial integrity. And to sustain this trajectory, the Nigerian Army Ordnance Corps Chief of Logistics, Major General Tomilola Akintade, retired, charged the rank and file of the Army to sustain the successes recorded in the annals of the Corps.
They should be focused and be loyal to the federal government and to the president of the nation, and they should abide by the oath of allegiance that they took to defend the territorial integrity of Nigeria.
While recalling the challenges faced in ensuring adequate procurement, storage, distribution, inspection, maintenance, repair, and disposal of all items of ordnance-related equipment, the retired Major General charged officers still in office to uphold the tenets of the Corps without fear or favor. The occasion marked the formal disengagement of 5 Major Generals from the service of the Nigerian Army after 35 years of meritorious service. In Lagos, Nta News24, News.
In the meantime, the military has arrested a naval personnel, LS Aquila, deployed at Forward Operation Base Dansadua for Operation Fansanyama, who opened fire and killed a fellow military colleague. In a statement by the Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, he assured that after investigations, the case will be forwarded to a standing court-martial set up to address such offences among troops. Meanwhile, the administrative procedure for notifying the family of the deceased is ongoing, noting that the full name of the deceased will be released in due course. The Defense Headquarters urges the media to exercise caution in reporting and avoiding anything that will further demoralize the bereaved family of the victim. And the British government has donated sophisticated technical equipment for the detection of improvised explosive devices, IEDs, and landmines to the Nigerian Army. Deputy Head of the British Defence Staff in charge of West Africa and Commander British Military Training Teams in Nigeria, Colonel Martin Leach, made the presentation at the Theatre Training School in Memalari Military Cantonment, Maiduguri. Abubakar Musa reports.
Though not made public for intelligence purpose, the donation of 1 billion naira worth of technical equipment to the Nigerian Army by the British government is not just focused on detecting improvised explosive devices, IEDs, and landmines, but expected to complement a new and significant package of courses delivered by the UK Defence in Maiduguri. Addressing high-ranking military officers and troops on the front line, Deputy Head of British Defence Staff in charge of West Africa and Commander British Military Training Teams in Nigeria, Colonel Martin Leach, said a team of 20 personnel from the British Army are currently working in Maiduguri delivering a course focused on enhancing the critical skills needed for continued operations against violent extremist organizations within northern Nigeria. There was also an elaborate demonstration on how best to apply highly technical and non-lethal military equipment, as well as reaction to offenses by criminal elements.
We've got the advanced technological equipment, which is absolutely necessary, but you can only use that when you've got some high-quality soldiers.
This equipment will go a very long way in assisting existing capabilities that we've used to counter those IED equipments.
The British government currently has personnel attached temporarily to the Theatre Counter IED Coordination Cell in Maiduguri, working with its Nigeria counterpart to develop intelligence on the terror networks that are killing civilians and soldiers with improvised explosive devices. In Maiduguri, Abubakar Musa, Nta News.
Another news, the promise by President Bola Tinubu to fulfill the commitment made by the previous administration to establish a UNESCO International Category 2 Media and Information Literacy Institute in Nigeria is being fulfilled. Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris at a symposium to mark 2024 Global Media and Information Literacy Week in Abuja assured of citizens' empowerment with relevant tools to navigate the dynamic information environment. Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara reports.
Like other nations, Nigeria is conscious of the growing digital revolution and is demonstrating the political will to meeting global practices of inculcating moral values and laying fundamental skills to promote citizens' media literacy using the UNESCO Category 2 International Media and Information Literacy Institute in Nigeria.
It has become imperative and crucial that we empower our citizens with the tools they need to navigate this complex information environment, especially with the advent of artificial intelligence, which will make it more complex. Media and information literacy becomes essential in empowering individuals to critically assess the information they encounter, discern credible sources, and engage responsibly with media content. It is imperative that our schools, universities, and community as a whole prioritize media literacy programs, ensuring that our youth are equipped to thrive in this digital age.
To complement ongoing efforts, the minister wants content creators and social media influencers to prioritize the interests of the nation and uphold the highest ethical standards.
I want to say it to UNESCO and the world over that Nigeria is ready for the MIA. It is our conviction that given the level of commitment and interest shown by Mr. President and the entire team working on this project, we will indeed succeed. This institute, when it finally kicks off, will offer programs and courses that equip Nigerians, Africans, and people worldwide.
UNESCO representative in Nigeria acknowledges the country's leading role in implementing the global desire of a purposeful media ecosystem.
And really congratulations for Nigeria leading MIL here in Africa and beyond Africa.
Our shared goal is to emerge from these two engagements with greater clarity, strengthened partnerships, and a renewed commitment to promoting media and information literacy.
The symposium with the theme, Empowering Nigerians Through Digital Literacy, Navigating the New Media Frontiers for Inclusive Public Information, features presentation on the importance of media and information literacy, jointly organized by the International Media and Information Literacy Institute, the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, and the UNESCO Abuja office. Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara, NTA News.
Watching the news at 10 on Nta News24, here's a look at our major stories. IMF advises Nigeria to utilize savings of fuel subsidy removal.
some of the savings from the fuel subsidy reforms, of the exchange rate subsidy being removed, should, in our view, be directed to helping cushion the effect on the most vulnerable households.
National Assembly proposes technological monitoring system and rapid response teams to enhance self-school. Federal government launches construction of second phase of Sokoto-Badagry superhighway. Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives Benjamin Kalu commiserates with the board of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited over the ill-fated helicopter that crashed into the Atlantic near Bonny Finima in Port Harcourt on Thursday, reportedly killing some members of staff. Kalu sympathizes with the Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPC Limited, Mili Kyari, and the families of the victims of the helicopter tragedy. The Deputy Speaker urged the relevant government agencies to offer all needed assistance that will help soothe the pain of affected families. Saluting the bravery of those who lost their lives in service, Kalu also prayed God for the repose of their souls. And that concludes the news at 10 on Nta News 24. Thanks for watching. I am Dennis Adegunloye.